So Barbara, I am absolutely delighted that Wishbeads has brought you into my life and your creations into my life. And so after being internet buddies, I said, let's go ahead and make a podcast recording. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, no, thank you for inviting me.
So I would love to sort of go back in time and ask you about first how you first found out about Wishbeads, and then a little bit of your own journey with making your wish.
So that was a weird one. I don't even know how I found it. I know one day I was on Instagram and I saw Teresa.
Teresa Reed, otherwise known as the Tarot Lady. She's amazing.
And I had already purchased your rose quartz bracelet because I had been searching for a rose quartz bracelet. I had asked a few of my favorite crystal vendors and they had them, but I was just like, I was like looking for something more. And so I found yours, just like Googling and looking. I found it, bought it, put it on, put the intention in there, did the whole thing. And then one day I was on Instagram and it showed me Teresa as her little triple T, in the Explorer page, clicked it and you were in there. And I'm like, wait a minute, I have her bracelet. So I thought it was so funny that Instagram connected. I mean, I found you before, but I thought it was so funny how you were in her live and it was just a coincidence, a sign. I don't know.
A sign. I know. It's funny. I think when things show up more than once, that's the universe giving you a little nudge of pay attention. There's a little fairy dust here. Pay attention.
Yeah. So my sign is always 3. If I see it happen in 3, I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. That's when I almost imagine that the universe is flicking my third eye to be like, really, seriously, wake up. What do you have to pay attention to?
Totally.
It's fun. It is. It's like a game that you can play. So now, so what happened after? Because, okay, so you've got your rose quartz bracelet. Did you write a very specific wish in that bracelet?
Yeah. So I got the bracelet. I was I held on to it for a good week. I wasn't sure. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm not sure, and I was already making my waters, but I was just making them for myself and making them for family. And so the page, I Love Love, I was like, okay, I want to spread more love. So help me figure out how I can share this. And that was my wish. It was basically I want to share more love. And I wrote, I love love in the little, on the little paper on the backside. And I rolled it up, tucked it in. And that was my wish. I forgot about it. Honestly, I put it in there and off it went.
So we're going to hear more for people who are unfamiliar with your quote waters and this idea of I love love. What was the moment in 2020 where you took this leap of something that you love to do? Well, first of all, before we even get to that, talk to us about your history about these waters. What exactly are these waters in your description?
Okay, so the waters is something that I've been doing with my mom and my grandmother. My mom and my grandmother, they make them all the time, herbs, spices, vodka, just depends on what they're, what they want to put in there that time. But we've been making them since, I remember making them as a small girl, and they would always make these big batches and get in the shower. You would go in the shower and then they would dump this bucket on you and you would feel like $1 million afterwards. So it's just something that I've always done, but I just didn't continue that as an adult. It was a thing I did as a kid with my mom and my grandmother, but then didn't continue. And then as I got older, I would start to go for walks along the lake and my connection with water grew. And one day I was just like, I want to make some lavender water. And so I made lavender water. And then I was like, well, maybe if I put something else in it. And I started to kind of make these waters and just spray myself. And I noticed that just my whole energy changed, my whole attitude changed. And I just felt almost like a shake, like a good little shake.
Right.
And so I kept making them.
Right. So for people who are unfamiliar with this idea of water, you had mentioned spraying. I hadn't yet heard of your mother and grandmother actually using them in the shower, pouring them on your body.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So they would make huge batches And there's only one ingredient that I don't add that my grandmother and my mother add, which is ice cubes. So so it is really, you'll see it in many different cultures where they add ice as like a wake up, as like to like really shock your energy, and cleanse your aura and just like new full energy. I can't handle the ice. My mom and my grandmother still do the ice. I don't do the ice.
Oh
So
my goodness. They're like Wim Hofing it before Wim Hof.
yeah, and I'm just like bracing as a kid, just bracing myself in the shower, like, okay, I'm ready. Because they would pour at the top of the head. And so it always start at the crown chakra, and it would like, go down your whole body. And oh my God, as a kid, you're just like, oh, but I don't do the ice. I don't do the ice. So I do the waters, and I charge mine under the moon. So that's the only difference between my mom and my grandmother's. I've always had a connection with the moon. I don't know how to quite explain it. I was born on a new moon. So I don't know. I'm a double Aquarius. So I kind of have that sun moon like duality happening there. And I had such a connection that I was like, you know what? I'm going to charge this under the moon. I charge all my crystals under the moon. So why not? I put them under the moon. Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, I charge everything. Everything holds energy. You can charge anything. A lot of people like putting out crystals. I put all kinds of stuff outside. Anything that I feel like is a spiritual item that I'm using in practice, I put it outside. Why not? So the waters went outside, and I noticed, I was like, well, okay, wait a minute. This is changing them. Like I can feel a difference. So I kept doing it, kept sharing it with my mom and my grandmother. They're my testers, and they loved it. They loved the charged moon waters.
I love this. Can you tell me a little bit? I don't know anything about, I would call them almost like sacred or spiritual waters or rituals around this. Is this something that they learned, was passed down culturally? Like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
And I also, by the way, love the idea of generational knowledge. Like, these are beautiful rituals that are passed down from generation to generation. Can you take us a little bit further back and tell us about the family history and where this came from?
Way, way back. Both sides of my family. So my mother's side of the family is Puerto Rican, so like Afro-Caribbean kind of on that side, and then my dad's side is Mexican. So both are super rich in culture when it comes to water, flowers, herbs, all that is very predominant. So I had it on both sides of the family. And my great grandmother did it. My grandmother does it. My mom, so it's definitely passed down. And I've been keeping a little notebook with all the recipes to pass it down to the kids.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. I love that. And so then as a child, I'm like so fascinated by this that I kind of want to mine a few more details. Would they practice this ritual with you on a regular basis, like once a month, or okay? So like, talk me through that, because that seems normal to you, and I want to know more.
Not even once, it was like weekly.
Weekly, it would be like, get in the shower. We're gonna do this thing.
Oh yeah. And you weren't allowed to dry yourself. You had to wear white. You always had to wear white because white is pure. And so you would get in the shower. They would cleanse you. They would wrap up herbs sometimes and kind of like cleanse your body with the herbs, with the water. And then you were allowed to gently pat, but you couldn't just dry off. And then you had to put white clothes on and go to bed. That was it. Happened every week. And then on Sundays, my mom would do a cleanse. She would do the same thing. She would make a cleanse. It would go in the mop bucket. She would sweep. She would mop, clean out all the energy, and she would do the same thing. She would light her incense. She would have her herbs, and she would cleanse the whole house. And water was so important for her. Anything that she had that she considered a sacred object or anything like that, she would cleanse with water. It would go right into the bathtub. She would make a bath for it, with herbs and spices and stuff. And then she would cleanse the object and put it back on her little altar. So water has always been, I'm kind of like mad at myself. Like, wow, now you're just picking up on this.
Like, you are young, my friend. This is exciting. And it's so interesting. Just when you're talking about rituals, we're looking at things that, that have been passed down through generations. And here we are in our modern society and our very scientific and analytical society. And there might be a part of the brain that says, well, does this stuff work? And does it really matter? And again, this can all be applied to wishing as well. And the same kind of critical thinking. But I
Yep.
also think it really is an opportunity for you to step back and say, well, how do I feel? And when I spray your waters in my world, and I love that you've like turned it into spray. It's like so easy. It's like so easy. You don't have to
Mhm.
get wet. You don't have to
Yeah.
like, it's not, and although now I'm super tempted to do these other things, but this idea of you just have this, your personal assessment, whether or not you feel a shift, whether or not it
Mhm.
changes the energy. And I
Yep.
will tell you the power of scent as well as just water. Now, just bear with me because this may sound a little bit odd, but when we have a rescue dog, Eddie, which you probably have heard me talk about, and
Mhm.
when we were training him and kind of like rehabilitating him, he could get his mind focused on something and maybe start freaking out or barking or whatever, being kind of in a stress state. And our
Yeah.
trainer, my dear friend Katya, would say, you don't spray at him, but if you spray just this lemon scent, not at him, not to hurt him in any way, but to have a very strong scent, it changes the channel in his brain. He just
Mhm.
snaps out of that story that he was in, that stress trigger, and he's in a
Mhm.
different place. It's literally like, boop, it's just a total shift in awareness. And that
Mhm.
resonated with me because when I spray your moon waters, I feel like I'm changing the channel, like I'm
Yep.
upgrading the channel, I'm upgrading my vibration.
Yep.
And I think that even if there is a part of anyone listening or watching saying, like, oh, this is just a bunch of fooey, you have to try it. And you have to
Totally.
suspend that critical, that kind of analytical part of your brain and just
Mhm.
see, because it never occurred to me when you're talking about, the power of water and like cleansing with that moon water, or
Mhm.
really touching and getting your hands and showing love and attention to sacred objects and how that makes you feel. It's powerful.
Mhm. Mhm. And that I do my hands. So if I'm doing any like energetic work where I feel like feeling a little funky in this area, I'll spray my hands and kind of do like one of these, and then I'll work on whatever area I feel like I
Wow.
need something. Even if I'm just like I just need a hug and nobody's wrong, I'll just spray my hands and I'll just kind of like and it just kind of like brings me back to center.
I
Yeah.
love
And
that.
I think it's really interesting that you said lemon because I asked for a sign and you know me, I'm big on signs.
Yes.
So I start the base of the next water after the moon. So like we just had the full moon and so I have the base downstairs and it's going and I was like, am I going in the right direction with this? Is this the right? Give me a sign. And it's lemon. And then
I
you bring
feel
up
so
lemon.
honored.
Yeah, and so I'm like, oh my god, that is so funny because Scorpio they tend to have sometimes a little like they'll tend to go into old behavior and old habit, and so the lemon I thought was like perfect to snap them right out of it if they're having a moment. And here you are saying the dog snaps out of it with lemon, so I'm like, wow,
There you go.
it
Oh my
is.
gosh, so funny. Well, see, when you ask for a sign,
Yeah.
very important. When you ask for a sign comes. It's so true. So
Oh,
here
they
we
do.
are in
They do, and
20.
sometimes they come really quick.
Yeah, indeed. So here we are in 2020. Actually, at the time of this recording, it's November 11/11, another sign. When you and I were talking about it, because I see 11/11 pretty much twice a day. Um, but here we are on November 11th, the time of this recording. It's going to air a little bit later, but um, and take me back earlier 2020, because I also was so quite taken with your decision when here, in the middle of a pandemic, so many of
Yeah.
our things that we've, our life patterns, our jobs, our everything is just
Mhm.
turning upside down. So
Yeah.
I love that your company and your products were created out of this new time. So what was
Yeah.
the story of that moment when you're just like, I'm going for it?
So 2020, we all know how 2020 started. Like 2020 is a hot mess. But in January, I have an autoimmune called sarcoidosis that affects my heart and my lungs. So I can't. I had a beautiful career. I owned a event planning firm, and I would work with high end clients that was my baby, and I had to like walk away. I had to say, okay, can't do this anymore. So I was already kind of struggling with that of not having that creative outlet and that just that feel of achievement, like you're doing something. So
Mm.
2020 rolled around and I was hospitalized in January and again in February.
Oh
And
my.
that was rough. In 2019, I was hospitalized 4 times. It just, if somebody gets a cold, you're like, I got a cold, no problem. If I get a cold, it's like, uh-oh, I'm going to like, I end up hospitalized because
Oh
my
my
lungs are so
goodness.
fragile and my heart is so fragile that they, I end up hospitalized. So February rolled around, I was hospitalized, came out, and then the pandemic hit. And I was like, well, I'm not leaving anywhere because I am immunocompromised. So I'm not going anywhere. So we stayed home. I started making my little waters. It was just something that I've always done, but had more time to do more because I was home. So I
Yeah.
started to make them and I would drop little care packages off to my mom and my grandmother, and they loved them. And every time I would drop one off, my mom would say, this is your life path. You're supposed to share this with the world. And I would be like,
Aw.
yeah, whatever, the typical like mother daughter, I'd be like, whatever, mom, and like keep going. And this happened many times. I drop her off her little waters and she would say, when are you bringing me my waters? And I would share them with my girlfriends and neighbors and my family. And they would all say, you have to share this with everybody. And I was just like, oh, I don't, because it's scary. Fear,
Right.
what we were talking about the other day, it's scary. So finally one day I was like, okay, I dropped the batch off to my mom and I just kind of felt like I kept hearing rose, rose, rose. So I stopped at the grocery store to pick up some roses for my mom and my grandmother. And in the grocery store, I'm like, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, send me a sign. Send me a freaking sign. I leave the grocery store. I walk up to the car, and the car parked next to my car. The license plate said Rose. And I'm like, what? And the water that I was dropping off to my mom and my grandmother was rose water. So I'm like, you gotta be kidding me right now. So I'm like, okay. So I drop off the water to her. She starts crying. She's like, I love it. I love it. And a bee has always been like another sign of mine. I give her the flowers, and out of nowhere comes like a flock of bees, just like flying around us.
And like, mind you,
And
what month is this now?
this was like early, I would say early spring, early
Oh, early
summer.
spring.
Like,
Okay.
yeah. So they were, but there was quite a few. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And my mom's like, it's you, sweetie. It's you. You should be doing this and you know it. And so she was the one who really pushed me because I have a Taurus rising and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, no, 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 no. And now when I look back, I'm like, why was I fighting so hard? Like, what? I was afraid.
Yeah.
Were people gonna want it? Were people gonna like it? All those questions came running in. So I left her house. I turned the corner and I don't know what happened. Like something just kind of took over and I just felt this rush of energy through my body and I just let go. I was bawling in the car. I have
Yeah.
goosebumps telling you. I was just bawling and crying and crying. And it was just this like huge release. And I was like, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. I didn't have a website. I didn't have anything. And I was like, I'll figure it out. We're going to do this. And so I went to my husband. He's worked in graphic design his whole entire career. And I was like, I need a logo. Or I already had I Love It, but I was like, I need labels. I don't know I need bottles. I don't know. And so I just started kind of like on a whim, like figuring it out, and off it went.
Off it went. I mean,
Yeah.
there are so many elements that I just want to highlight that I just absolutely love about your story is that sometimes, and I think this is such an interesting um, thing that we all get ourselves caught up in is that we hold on to the thing that we really really want and sometimes create all these narratives around it like, oh, I used to do this when I was a kid, or that's just this wild thing that just my family does, these creations of these waters, or how important it is to you. And we discredit it as a way, in a weird passive aggressive way, to just keep it safe. And
Yep.
yet sometimes the universe throws such a challenge in front of us. And in your case, a physical condition that took you out of a very successful business. So on one hand, you could attach yourself to a narrative of like, poor me, this is so unfair. Why did this happen to me? All of this stuff. And yet there was just enough around you, enough awareness around you, or support, love, encouragement, grace, to give you that space so that you could stay creative and
Mhm.
proactive, and you could have that your allies around you. And in some cases it can be family members who are your greatest
Yeah.
allies, or it could be friends. Maybe family members are the first people to say, you can't do this, who do you think you are? um,
Mhm.
but it's so beautiful that even you got to own I even love sort of the attitude of like, give me a freaking sign. Sometimes you
Yeah.
have to be a little bit sassy with it. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
so sacred and special. It's just like, listen,
Yeah.
I need this. Like,
Mhm.
give me a sign. And then
Yeah.
you get it. And then you take the responsibility on yourself to be like, okay,
Yeah.
let me just
Yeah.
purge all of the
And you have
negative
to do the work.
emotion. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, straight up. Like I often say when
Yeah.
I tend to interview a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's really
Mhm.
like a special club, because
Yep.
only the people that really know what it takes to have an idea, to understand all the steps that are in front of you, and then stay in a very Torian way,
Yep.
proactive, keep moving
Mhm.
forward, meeting each challenge, having
Yep.
flexibility, showing up even when you don't feel like it, doing the steps. It's not all
Oh, yeah.
moon water fun, you and I both know.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also
Yeah.
the best ride, and you learn so much about yourself, and you meet so many amazing people. And so
Yeah.
I just love that. I absolutely love that. So what has been some of your greatest takeaways from this journey so far? Because you're really still in the newest phases of it. But what has surprised and delighted you about the
Yeah.
process so far?
Um, I feel like it's almost I make the waters to help everyone have some peace and love and comfort, even if it's just the aromatherapy. But in that moment, it fills my cup too. Like it's almost like a beautiful meditative state that I go into when I'm making the water.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like it. I don't even know how to quite put it into words. It's almost like I go into a trance like state and I come out of it and I feel like I'm floating. Like I look at the water and I'm just like, I made that. I made that. It's beautiful. And I can't wait for everyone else to feel how beautiful it is. So
Oh,
that's been really, really nice. And just like, okay, I'm gonna get nerdy. I just sit there with the water. Like most times, like I'll make a batch and I'll like just sit there and I'll look at it and take some pictures of it. Like I spend time with the water, and I don't know what that is. I journaled a little bit about that the other day. I just like to be with it, and spend some time with it and kind of like get the vibe, and then I write the description for it. Like I kind of
yeah.
just let my intuition kind of like feel it out.
Well,
That's been a
as
lot.
someone who is a super fan of your products, and I think it's so beautiful that so much care and love and attention goes into a product, because I believe that people feel that. I certainly feel it from your products, and I hope people feel it from my products, that
Mhm.
so much care and attention has been put into it, that even if someone doesn't recognize that consciously, I feel like the
Mhm.
energy is there, that energy exchange. And in this really
Oh yeah.
challenging time, and I would imagine really challenging times ahead, we're going to need to find our power power objects, our sacred things, our sacred people, our places of inspiration and grounding, so that we can draw upon that energy, so that we can
Mhm.
stay creative and positive and proactive, and show up in the world as happier, healthier human beings. I think that's what this time is going to call upon. So it feels like
100%.
the healers or the teachers or the cheerleaders are going to be coming out and finding their gifts and finding their voices and taking those bigger, brave risks in that way of like selfless giving, which is what I
Oh
feel
yeah. Oh
is
yeah.
the journey you're on with your products.
Oh my gosh, and I think about so many people who are, like, in the closet, the woo-woo closet.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was there too. I mean, I think it's why I didn't do it sooner. I'm like, "Oh, like, are people gonna want this?" You question yourself. You're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know." And you really gotta just trust yourself. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to just trust yourself, trust your intuition, and kinda just lead from a place of love and gratitude. And I try to do that every day. Of course, we have crap days. We're normal. We're human. But,
Right.
Then I just come along and I'm like, all is well in the land.
There's nothing a little spritz can't help. No, it's true. It's true.
I know. I think one of the cutest stories.
No, go ahead.
I think one of the cutest stories that I've heard recently from a client is she purchased one for herself, and she works for the government, and they pair up home care aides with elderly patients who either, they need help with grocery shopping, whatever the case may be. And so they work in like a little office, and they each have their little cubicle. And she said she had her little spray on her desk, and a coworker was like, "Oh, what is that?" And so she told her coworker what it was. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I need to try this too." So and it created like this chain reaction. And she actually wrote me an email yesterday, and she told me, "Oh my God, it's amazing," because she's like, "I'll hear from across the office, psh, 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 and then I'll hear." She's like, you'll hear this chain reaction of water's going off, because she's like, sometimes it is difficult. Sometimes you have to get off a phone call and it's a difficult client or patient. And she's like, we just have to recenter. And so she's like, your waters have been great with like recentering and causing like a chain reaction of all like this beautiful energy in our office. And I just thought that was so adorable.
It's so adorable. It's so adorable. And if it changes the way that you feel, that energy, it changes your thoughts, it changes your actions, it changes the dynamic of the energy around you, and just have to try it. You just have to try it. And so again, for anybody who wants to actually try it, go to EYE love LOVE.com, and you will be able to purchase your very own moon water charged under the light of the full moon.
I literally have like 6 bottles next to me.
No, I know. Well, I have my spiritual sidekick, and I have my beautiful blue moon water.
I've been spraying that one all day long.
So good. So good. But I do think that like I'm now, I'm like a diehard fan. So I have all of your waters. And then, as I said, I think I'd mentioned this to you earlier, I just allow my intuition to like help guide me to like, which one do I need right now? So I'm just going to like randomly pick up one, couple sprays. Okay, good. And I let it see what it does.
And you know what? If you look up like what is in them and then what you're going through, they probably match, because that happened to me. I do the same thing, and I was kind of like feeling off one day, and I'm like, oh, and I did the same thing, and I grabbed the random one, and when I looked, it was Virgo, and Virgo was a very grounding water. So I'm just like, wow. And it's happened many times where I'll just grab one blindly and then look at it, and I just laugh, because I'm like, of course that's what I need today. Like, I need fire to light a fire under my tuchus so I can get going today because I got stuff to do,
Yeah.
Or I need Virgo for grounding. So they're so beautiful. And I love that like it changes, because I feel like we're always changing. Energy is always changing. We're always changing. Like, so I love that the moons change, and I have new ones every month. And it's just something different, something new and fresh. And then there's my ride or die, which is spiritual psychic. She'll never go away.
What will never go away?
Spiritual sidekick.
Oh, the spiritual sidekick.
Never. Like this one.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. That one, I made that one in honor of my mother and my grandmother, and it has rose, lavender, and sage. 3 ingredients, one to symbolize each one of us. And I was just like, no, that's just my family in a bottle. So
my family in a bottle. And now I feel like I've got some of that love in a bottle as well, because it is truly one of my absolute favorites, spiritual sidekick. So good. So beautiful. I just love that this journey is just unfolding for you. I also love what a beautiful role model you're being for your children. Here they're watching somebody. I mean, I was so surprised to hear that you do have an immune, you have a health issue, basically. Excuse me, a health issue, because to me, your energy is so vibrant, so electric. I know people that have no physical issues that seem much more, I don't want to say disabled, but low energy. And
Subdued.
subdued, like subdued. But I see the energy of abundance in you and creativity and possibility, and you just sort of light up in that. And I can only imagine for your family to watch this transformation and you step into your own power has to have a beautiful ripple effect.
And they're part of it. My husband helps me with all like the design of the website and the labels, and my daughter is also my tester. I'm like, smell this, and I'm like squirting some of her face to smell it. And everybody loves helping. Everyone helps. My family knows that they're obviously well aware of my autoimmune, and so they help. Like they drop off stuff at the post office, and they will help run errands for me, and it's something that honestly, I'm so immensely grateful and blessed that I have this right now, because I can't go anywhere. Like I can't go anywhere. Like
Yeah.
it's just not, and so I can't have a normal career. I can't go out and have I have a heart condition and I have a lung condition. And so this is something that fills my cup. I'm like, cup runneth over. And I can do it from the safety of my home with my family.
Yeah.
So it's just been like, 2020 has been rough, but this has been the ultimate blessing of 2020.
It's so beautiful.
Be able to create something. And I've always been a creative person. And I think that's what I struggled with the most. The money, I was like, I don't care. The business, I closed it down, fine, whatever. The clients, I love them dearly. They were amazing. I miss the creativity, like being creative outlet. That was the part that I struggled with the most, was being creative, because I've always been creative and I just needed some sort of like creative outlet, and I had no idea I was doing it all along. And there was my mom, typical mom, told you so, so now she's like, I told you so, now bring me my water.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I think for people listening, maybe just the simple awareness that creativity can bring you back to yourself and can put you in a mindset of gratitude and abundance and changing. We talked about changing the channel of your mind. Just that act. And if someone says, well, I'm not a creative person, everybody, to be human is to be a creative person. And, taking walks in nature, I find it, it's interesting. You talk about the power of water, and I find myself swimming in the ocean, which is something I never did. I can't believe I'm doing now, especially when it's now getting very, very cold. So maybe that's a lesson from your mom, aside from your mom, that cold water is a very good thing. So maybe I will go.
She would say, get in.
I know. I think I just got that message from your mom. As I talked about on my live today, I'm like, I think it's going to be in the 40s when I wake up tomorrow. And that just seems too cold. I think the message from your mom is like, Alexa, get in. It's fine. You'll be fine. It'll be good for you. But creativity is definitely powerful.
Definitely.
Yeah. So find that creativity.
And I have to control myself, because I feel like I'm a double Aquarius. So we're always like in the clouds, like coming up with crazy stuff. I have to like full of like sketches and ideas, and like, so I have, because I'm just like, I have a million ideas, and mine runs a million miles a minute. So I have to like, that's when I have to bring it back, and I'm like, okay, slow it down a little bit, bring in some Taurus energy and just chill.
Chill. There's a spray for that.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, well, Barbara, I wish you, obviously we're going to stay connected because I am totally in love with your product. So there's that. But also I'm just here cheering you on. I'm so excited to see where your business unfolds, the lives who are going to be touched as a result. And I also just love the fact that you're carrying your family tradition, your ancestral tradition, and bringing it to people, which is a beautiful act of generosity as well. And of course, I also totally love the fact that there is this family support and there is this family business, because that definitely is the case in my household. When there's a big deadline, believe me, I got the whole gang taping and organizing, and in some cases making beans. Yeah, the whole family is
I
involved. So they know what's up. Even they know right now as the door is closed, the ring light is on, they know that mama's recording a podcast. So it's
I
fun,
just feel like I think it's special because I feel like they've learned from it. Like they were with me when I had, the wedding planning firm, and so they were with me during that time, and they know like that's crazy. That's crazy town. Weddings are crazy town. So like they were with me all through that, and they've been with me through this, and I feel like they've learned too,
Yeah, of
like
course.
my daughter's there and she's learning, right along with me, and I teach her and she'll ask me questions about business. And I'm like, oh, this is this and this is, and so as much as I'm like the woo side, I always have to like, okay, Barb, the business side, pay attention. I've been sharing that with her, and so it's been a learning. It's a learning endeavor for everyone, for the whole entire family, which is nice. Even the little ones, and the little ones are 6 and 8, so
Yeah.
they have fun with it. They love
Yeah.
the sprays. Oh my gosh, they want to be sprayed every day before school and every
Oh,
night before they. Mama, can I have
beautiful.
a spray? Yeah.
I'm sort of in the place where I sneak the spray in their room. My boys are not really, they know my woo-woo ways, but I usually do
I
it when they're not watching.
know. Oh no, they love. Well, they're girls, but they love this. And my husband doesn't mind either. I spray the whole bed, and he's like, yeah, whatever. He loves it too.
Oh, it's
He's like,
so
would you say
good.
spiritual sidekick? And I'm like, you know it.
So good. It's so good. Yeah, I totally spray my husband. He's down with it. But I think it's
Yeah.
also, as the future and the future of jobs, like, the world is changing very quickly. And I love the idea that entrepreneurship, just to give them those life skills, those business skills, to show them that that is a path as well. A lot of people have a lot of, I don't know, concepts about what it means to have your own business. Some people
Yeah.
paint it in a glossier, sheen of paint than what it actually is, or vice versa. But what a great model to say, okay, if you have an idea, everybody has ideas. What does it take to take
Mhm.
that idea and put it out into the world?
Yeah.
Might you be rejected? Yep. Might you be copied? Yep. May you
Oh
be,
yeah.
areas of expansion? Yep. May be knocked down, but then may have a huge win. It's all there, but it's so much more fun to be in it
Mhm.
and experiencing it than sitting on the sidelines wondering. That's for me. That's what keeps me going and keeping my
I
hat in the ring.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the one that I'm kind of like, I'm so glad that she does this with me is my 19-year-old, because she wants to be a doctor. So she's
Mm.
like very like, analytical. She's very like black, white, this is this, and she has become quite the intuitive and is like, wow. And it has just like welcomed it and embraced it. So I love the way her mind thinks, because she's like, okay, doctor side. And then she's like, woo woo side.
Which
And
I
so I
would
just
love
love
nothing
it.
more than to have like an amazing clinical doctor who is also
Yeah.
actively very intuitive. Like,
Yep. Yep.
that's the
She's
future of
extremely,
medicine.
oh yeah. And she wants to be a pediatrician. So
Mm.
I'm like, oh, I know. And she's so amazing with kids. So just seeing her like embrace both sides, not immediately being like, no, it's been beautiful. It's been beautiful. She totally is like my little cheerleader in the background. Like,
I
go
love
mom.
it. I love it. Well, I mean, truly, Barbara, I can only see great things ahead for you and your
Thank you.
creations. And I'm so excited to watch this unfold and check in with you and see how it's going. And of course, keep wishing, keep
Oh,
seeing.
are you kidding me? I got 2 bracelets on today, and I love them. I know you said like when you spray, it's like a recentering. I wake up in the morning, don't look at my phone. I wake up in the morning, I take a big gulp of water. I always have water in my nightstand. I'll light an incense, I'll read a little bit, do some breathing, and then the next thing I do is I put my wish beads on. It's like it's become part of my like morning ritual. And if I don't have I'm like, like, like I feel naked. Like, where's my bracelet? So I love them. I wear them every single day, and I just love them so much. I love them so much.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm so happy that they're working for you and you are working with them. And it's a beautiful thing. And I thank you for sharing your story, because I believe that there's a lot of people out there who have wishes and dreams, and it may be to pivot in their career, to build something new, maybe even in the beginning on the side, to reconnect with some of your childhood passions, with things that you love to
Mhm.
do that come easy to you, that put you in the flow. And the idea that you could put that into the world is not just like, oh, is my business going to be profitable? But it's a gift. You're actually giving your gift out into the world. And we need your gifts now more than ever.
And I love that you mentioned that, because I'll tuck, my husband's like, what are you doing? And I have like a little pile on the side, and I'll just see a random order and I'll tuck a little gift inside. And my husband's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I just like, so randomly, random orders, you never know. You might get an extra little gift. Because I love to just tuck them in, because I feel like sometimes things come to us in a little, like, magical way.
Yeah.
And I received so many gifts where I didn't purchase it. I didn't it just showed up, like a friend may have given me a gift or something like that. And so I just love that idea of just something just kind of like arriving. And so I tuck little gifts into my boxes.
It's so sweet. And it's just the tiniest little stuff that can make you
Mhm.
feel so special and cared for and delighted. And I think
Mhm.
we've gotten away from that. And in our world where it's like text messages and Amazon and convenience, and it's just so different. It's just so different. And we lose that feeling of like a handwritten note or a postcard or a little surprise gift or something that just,
100%. Yep.
someone even just thanked me recently for a voicemail message I left. And I was like,
Oh,
oh my gosh, have we gotten to a place where a voicemail message seems like a big thing? I mean, and I really feel like, wow, we have to come back to the little beautiful graces of what it means to be a kind human, get back to the gift of the golden rule and remember how simple that it just doesn't take
yep.
very much to sort of be a wonderful, thoughtful human being.
I have a wall in my closet, and it started out with just a mirror, and I got like one note and I taped it to the mirror, and then another note and taped it to the mirror, and now the wall is like completely covered, and I call them my love notes, and they're just notes from like customers or friends who've sent little gifts, or I have two of your notes in there, and so I collect them all and I just call them my love notes, and I
So
love
beautiful.
handwritten notes. So I still write all my notes. I know a lot of companies will tuck in like a postcard or something, and I'm sure I'll add postcards at some point. But I just love writing a
Yeah.
little note. I just
Yeah.
love writing a little note, And this week I took a calligraphy class. I don't know, last year, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do calligraphy on these thank you notes this week. And so
I
I
have
busted
your
out
little
my
note. I'm
calligraphy
looking at
kit,
it
and
right
there I
now.
there was like Alexa, Jessica, Danny, like writing all. And I had the most beautiful afternoon. I took the afternoon off to write calligraphy notes, and I had a blast.
So
And it was
great.
just the most simplest thing.
It's so great.
Yeah.
So I was reading over some old notes. Um,
Hmm.
I'm working on a project later on today, actually. And I was reading over some old notes, and a good friend of mine, she had given me some marketing advice. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, I wish I had done this back when she actually told me this advice. But one of the things that she suggested, which I thought was so brilliant, I think I'm going to do it now because who cares about time, was she recommended something called a wish wall. And on this wish wall, it's an opportunity for people to share their wishes. And there's a website, very well known website called Post Secret. And
Hmm.
people submit postcards and they share their secret. And if you go online and you look at Post Secret, it's really like it's like a lot of dark things, I have to say, because secrets are generally something that
Oh,
people are like ashamed or afraid to admit, and they're sort of darker. And I thought, okay,
yeah.
well, my jam
Yeah.
is kind of the opposite. So I thought, and when I do
Yeah.
virtual
You're
wish
like,
circles, yeah, which is why maybe Post Secret is so popular, and mine maybe won't be, but that's okay. So, but we're gonna erase that concept, and we're gonna say poo poo cancel cancel. That's what my Aunt Barbara used to say. Poo poo cancel cancel. My wish wall is gonna be
therapists are
huge.
smart. You should listen.
Yeah, huge. It's It's going to be huge, huge. Okay. So, but the idea was when I do wish circles, I ask people if they want to share their wish, and everyone gets very shy about it because we have a lot of programming around the sacredness of wishes. If we share your wish, it's not going to come true. Where did we come up with this? Nowhere. I don't know what that is. That's not a real thing. So I thought,
like when you blow your birthday candles out and they're like, don't share it because it won't happen. What are you talking about?
Exactly. What are you talking about? Because you know what? You need people to know what your wishes are so they can help you. The universe needs to hear what you want. That's why we write it down. So at least the universe hears. But then I thought, what if I put a postcard that's in the shipments that talks about this idea of send us your wish? Like, yes, you're going to write it in your Wishbeads, but really like color, like make it a creative thing. You do not have to put your name, but by putting it out into the world in a weird, like safe way, then we are sending you energy towards your wish, and we'll create a wish wall where we're going to post those anonymously. So it's like out there in the world, even if you're feeling shy about sharing it. And I thought maybe that could be fun. Do you think people would be into that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Would that be fun?
It's almost like sending a letter to Santa.
Totally. Exactly. And that magic of like your little kids are like, oh my goodness, like the idea that Santa Claus is actually going to read this. Yeah. And I literally will get every single postcard.
Like, like helping. So it's the same thing, except it's the universe helping us.
Yeah. But I also just love this idea that we can put it out there, Anyway, I think I'm going to do that. Why not?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then my friend will be like, I told you so 2 years ago. Oh, well.
I love little handwritten notes. I love all that. I love all that. For my, we've been together for 15 years and we just had our 11-year wedding anniversary. And I was like, I don't know, man, he's got everything. Like, sure, I can go buy a gift. But I was like, I don't want to do that. So I bought a crap ton of Post-it notes and I wrote as many as I could until my hand was like, eh. And I covered his entire closet. He has like big, huge glass doors. And I covered the whole entire closet in love notes, the whole thing. And then I went and I covered like the whole shower enclosure in them and the bathroom wall. And I gave him a little, like a little red journal, like, with just blank sheets on it. And he took them off one by one, reading each one individually. And he stuck them in the book and he has them on his nightstand.
That is awesome. That's really truly the deliciousness of life.
Yeah. And it's something so simple. I mean, and some of them were funny, like, hey, hey, good looking, and some of them were like, you're an amazing dad and a great mentor and the kids look up to you and that's beautiful, and then other ones were like, I like your butt. So so you just have fun with it. It doesn't have to be. That's another thing. I feel like people with wishes, they're like, oh, I have to like, what do I want? No, it doesn't. Just relax.
Yeah.
Just relax.
And also, like, there's also this myth of like, you only get 3. Like the genie only gave you 3. Like,
oh my God. Yeah. No,
you can wish as many times as you want. Go get another bracelet.
That's why I have multiple bracelets.
That's right. It's all good.
I got different wishes going on and different bracelets, and I keep journals and you can wish all the time.
Yeah. It's an act of creativity and personal empowerment. Oh, Barbara, you're the best. I love you. And I'm so happy.
Give Billy a big hug for me.
Oh, I will. I will indeed. I will indeed. And that's also another thing we share about entrepreneurship and generations of women helping other women. And my grandmother was a working woman and my mom was a working woman. And now she's helping me in my business. And it's really a beautiful thing to pass down that example and that connection. And, it just is, again, it's the richness of life.
Oh yeah. I have a thing that just popped into my head. So my mom was the same way. Growing up, my mom was always an entrepreneur. My mom always was, she would start a business. She would do amazing. She's just always been that person. And she, of course, like I came along, like she was like, come on, we're going to go do this. And so I was always with her along the way for all her endeavors. I remember she was like, okay, I'm going to sell flowers. She would make these big floral arrangements, and it was like custom, and she would make them from the house, and then she would sell them to customers. And so I was like, can I like buy some supplies and like make I was like 7. Okay. And she was like, sure. Yeah. So I went to the store. She gave me like $50. I went to the store and I bought like these little bags. They were like little Valentine paper bags, the ones that are like a quarter or something like that. And I put newspaper in there and shred, and I put like a couple candies, and I would wrap the tops with plastic. That Valentine's Day, I made $800. 800. Yeah.
That's
I was like
amazing.
7, and I had like a roll of money. Because this is like, the 90s. I had like a roll of money like this. And my mom was just like, oh. And the next holiday, I did it again. I did it for Easter. I would do it for Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, and Easter. And there I was, a little kid, 7, 8, 9 years old, making almost $1,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was wild. Mm-hmm.
Well, it was very sweet. My son has a few different business ideas, and it was very sweet that last night he and I were talking about business ideas, and I was talking to him about, he's 14, and I was talking to him about the risk reward ratio and having to really calculate, what the risk reward is, and I wasn't saying yes or no or whatever. He wasn't totally looking for approval, but it was kind of like, it was a way for us to really connect on things. And, and I would say, well, here's what you got to, write down this, what the cost is going to be, and what's the risk, and how much can you make? What's the margin? And we're having these conversations, and he's like, all right, I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. And I think it's so cool. And, actually, this coming up soon. I mean, I know we've got to wrap this up. This is a long podcast, but there is an initiative that I want to do in the next couple of weeks I know I talk a lot about the Black Fairy Godmother and Simone Gordon's work and how she's helping families in need. So we've signed on to do this thing called Adopt a Family for the holiday season. And it's basically making all the, the financial wishes and things that they want to for this holiday. And I thought, okay, so as a family, we are going to come up with, instead of me just being like, I'm just going to write a check and make sure it all happens. It's like, okay, what are we going to do to help raise money? And like, whether it's car washes or dog walking, or, what's a thing that we can actually put all of our collective effort into with the conscious intention to help this other family. And I think it's just such an important lesson about business and about life and about the impact that you can have with your energy and your time and attention. And I feel like even if just a handful of people do that kind of selfless giving, this, especially in 2020, we can really shift our energy around and start to realize that we really are all connected, and we all have something to give and help and do. And so we'll see. I'll keep you posted.
I love that. I love that. And I love that he's young and he's getting into it. My daughter is 19 and she makes vegan treats. It was just like also born in 2020. She was bored out of her brain and was like, I'm gonna start baking. And my husband's vegan. So she's like, I'm going to bake vegan treats because I want Dan to be able to partake. And I'm like, okay. And so she makes amazing vegan treats and she sells them, and I drop them off locally.
I love it.
We only do it locally. My husband will go and drop them off, or I'll drop it off, and we make sure it's all safe. And I'm like, it's at your doorstep.
So great.
Like contactless delivery, but it's so cute because they're young and they're learning about money management and all these fun things. And it's life skills.
Yeah. So see, the pandemic has its gifts.
Yeah.
If you choose to see it. Well, Barbara, thank you so much. I'm happy to have you on the podcast. I'm happy to know you. I'm happy to bask in your products every day. And all of the links to Barbara's beautiful business and her products are included in the podcast notes. But again, if you're just listening to this, you can go to EYELOVELOVE.com and go get yourself some beautiful moon waters. And I just wish you all the best in this endeavor. I know it's going to be successful.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. I'm going to flash my crystal at you now.
Yay. And it's all powered with love and crystals.
Always.
Just a little crystal on your lap to get grounded. Huzzah. Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks, Barbara.
Oh, thank you. Bye.